Thank you. I declare that the council meeting of Tuesday the 25th of March is open at 5:30, and I would like to advise that the meeting is being live streamed in accordance with the council's meeting live streaming, recording and electronic attendance policy. By being present at this meeting, members of the public consent to the City live streaming and recording and subsequently publishing their voices on the City's website. I first wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we are on, the Mandurah people, who have met for thousands of years on the shores of these beautiful waterways as we do today. This is Mandurah, meeting place of the heart. Apologies, we have no apologies tonight. The important notice: members of the public are advised that any decision made at the meeting tonight can be revoked in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995. Therefore, members of the public should not rely on any decisions until formal notification in writing by council has been received. 5, answers to questions taken on notice, and there were some questions from the last council meeting and they will be provided in the minutes of this meeting. So, public question time. We will now move into public question time. Please ensure that your questions relate to the ordinary business of the City, the function of council or the purpose of this meeting. Please note that this is an opportunity to ask questions only. No additional statements or arguments will be permitted. During public question time, members of the public are given the opportunity to ask a question of council. Council will allocate 15 minutes for public questions. The City is committed to ensuring fair and equitable access to public question time. In accordance with the council policy, each member of the public who wishes to ask a question may ask up to 3 questions. Public question time must be conducted in accordance with the City of Mandurah's standing orders. Questions must not reflect adversely on the integrity of the City of Mandurah, included an elected member, city officer or any other party. Members of the public who have submitted questions in advance of the meeting will be invited to ask their questions first. Following this, if time allows, I will invite others to ask their questions. When called forward to ask your question, please begin by stating your name. The City will make every attempt to provide you an answer. Where this is not possible, your question will be taken on notice and a written response will be provided to you once the necessary research has been undertaken. This response will also be included in the next council agenda. I now open public question time at 5:32. And I would like to invite Mr. Paul Higgs to the deputation table.
Thank you very much.
So welcome.
Welcome, thank you very much for the opportunity. Just got a couple of questions. First of all, how much is council expending each year on repairs to gardens, crossovers, curbing, footpaths and other infrastructure caused by the Norfolk Island Pines?
Thank you for the question, and I'll address that to the CEO.
We'll take that on notice.
Thank you. Could you move to your second question?
Why has council not undertaken a programme of verge tree replacement for trees that have been removed?
Thank you, and I'll direct this one to the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, the City has an ongoing street tree planting program that includes the planting of new street trees and also the replacement of street trees where removal has been approved.
Thank you. To move to your third question.
So there's an agenda for it, is that what I mean? That we're saying it's ongoing, the replacement of the trees?
That program is ongoing, yes, for both new street trees and also for replacement street trees.
And thirdly, is council aware of the ongoing trauma these trees are causing to the residents of Cox Bay due to the damage being done to their properties and council's unwillingness to accept the reality of the residents' concerns?
Thank you for your question, and I'll direct that also to the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, a petition containing 60 signatures was tabled at the February 2025 Ordinary Council meeting, requesting the removal of all Norfolk Island pines that are situated within 15 metres of residences within the locality of Cox Bay, due to the damage to infrastructure being caused by these trees. The request is that these trees be replaced with a more suitable species that is both native, non-invasive and more ecologically suited to the environment. Subsequently, City officers have commenced an assessment of the subject trees in consideration of the City's policy for the management of trees in streets and public open spaces. To assist City officers in these assessments, a letter has been sent to residents requesting information related to observed or perceived damage to infrastructure so that this can be properly considered. Given the number of trees to be assessed, it is expected that this process will take several months to complete, and residents will be informed on the outcome of the assessments as soon as practicable.
Thank you.
Thanks. Is that it? Because that's been done before and nothing's happened.
So through
Over the last
the
several years, somebody's been out, inspected the trees, got a report, still nothing's happened.
excuse me, Mr. Higgs, through the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, several years ago there was a petition that was considered at Council, and there was independent investigation by an independent arborist at that time that made recommendations around retaining or removing Norfolk Island pines in Cox Bay, and that matter was considered back at that time. This is obviously being considered as a new request, and effectively a new assessment will be undertaken by city officers.
So thank you, Mr. Higgs. I think you've heard we are taking this matter quite seriously, and we are aware of it. And so the feedback coming from community is quite important, and I believe a report will come back to Council for Council to make a decision.
Yeah, okay, because it's
Thank
just
you.
been gone before, that's all. We've been, second time we've come round, that's all, nothing's happened. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite Mr. Rex Robinson to the table. Welcome, Mr. Robertson.
Thank you.
You'd like to-
I live at 9 Governor Drive in Cox Bay,
Thank you.
and I've been involved in the progress of trying to achieve results of the problems with the pine trees for over 20 years.
Thank-
First question, why does Council not recognise that Norfolk Island pines are causing significant damage to private city and government infrastructure in the Cox Bay locality?
So thank you. Through the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, as previously stated, a petition was tabled at the February 2025 Ordinary Council meeting requesting the removal of Norfolk Island pines due to the damage to infrastructure being caused by these trees. The City has commenced an assessment of the subject trees in consideration of the City's policy for the management of trees in streets and public open spaces, and residents will be informed on the outcome of these assessments as soon as practical.
Thank you. If you'd like to place your
Thank you.
second question.
Okay, well, if this is recognised, then why has Council not planned to remove these trees and replace with a more suitable bird species, which I think you've just answered before, haven't you, in the other question? You're going to replace them with more suitable down the track, is that correct?
So, thank you. Through the Director, if you could elaborate a little more on that.
Through the Mayor, so if the outcome of the assessment is that any of the Norfolk Island pines in Cox Bay require removal, the City will consider the merits of planting an appropriate replacement tree species within the verge, but the assessment needs to be undertaken first before consideration is given to replacement trees.
Thank you. If you'd like.
Okay. Question 3 then, well, why won't the Council and its officers recognise the scientific evidence by recommendations of the Water Corporation and other facilities as to the unsuitability of a Norfolk Island pine on street verges, such as Cox Bay, which is a small street-style suburb, and the trees just are not suitable? Why won't the Council recognise the evidence?
Thank you. Through the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, the City's locality street tree master plan was adopted in 2020. The street tree master plan defines suitable tree species for each locality within the city. The master plan was developed considering multiple factors of what makes a tree species suitable in a locality, including ecological characteristics, aesthetic value, soil type, and consideration of structural requirements for the trees at mature size. It is noted that the Norfolk Island pines are no longer identified in the master plan as being a preferred species to be planted in the locality of Cox Bay. However, in the case of considering the removal of an existing street tree, this is assessed against a range of criteria as outlined in the City's policy, including whether the tree represents a hazard in its present location, the value of the tree, and the value of the work required to retain the tree. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson.
Am I allowed to add anything?
Not at this stage, but you're welcome to ask another question once we have finished, because we have
I
many
do have
questions
something
tonight.
else, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from John Gallert, and he's not here tonight, and I've been asked to read those out on his behalf. And his first question is, given that Council is concerned about the canopy cover within the city, why is it that a very high percentage of the Mandurah precincts do not have any verge trees planted, and that in Cox Bay area the vast majority of planting is made up of the totally unsuitable Norfolk Island pine species, which has very little environmental or ecological value? And through to the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, the city has an average tree canopy cover of approximately 20%, which is comparatively high when compared to other metropolitan areas. The city's tree canopy comprises of a wide variety of street tree species, including Norfolk Island pines. As part of the process to measure the city's canopy, mapping is developed that shows areas of reduced canopy coverage. The city's annual street tree planting program includes a focus on areas of reduced canopy.
Thank you. And a further question from Mr Glert is that Council has attached a so-called amenity value to the Norfolk Island pines in Cox Bay. Where does this figure come from when in fact these trees are providing affected residents with a negative value when applied to real estate values and residents' quality of life? And through to the Director.
Through the Mayor, when considering tree removal, one of the factors considered is the value of the tree in terms of its environmental, social, heritage and aesthetic value. The city presently uses a tree valuation model that is endorsed by Arboriculture Australia, the peak industry body in Australia. The model is widely recognised across the arboricultural industry and is published and available on the website.
Thank you. The next questions that we've received are from Mrs Ward, and she has got 3 questions. Her first question is, what natural earth contour maps do the city's town planning officers use to determine what requires city planning approval? Examples, retaining walls that alter the natural earth level over 0.5 of a metre and must have City of Mandurah planning approval. And I'll direct that question to the Director of Strategy and Economic Development.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Mayor. Whilst the city does have some contour information that's provided through Landgate, this data is not relied on for the determination of whether a planning application is required or whether a proposal is considered exempt. The topographic information on the city's mapping system is considered to be a guide rather than the final source of truth for accurate levels in an area. The Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes Regs of 2015, that's Schedule 2 and the Deemed Provisions Part 8 Clause 63, sets out the information that must accompany an application for a development approval. And in particular, 63 states that the existing and proposed ground levels over the whole of the land and are the subject of this application. Alongside this, in the Building Act 2011, Part 2, Division 2, Section 16, provides the requirements of making a building permit application. So if, for example, above, an application was made for a retaining wall, it would be the requirement that a site survey, including the existing natural ground level and proposed new levels, would be included in such an application. If this survey revealed that there was a slight difference that exceeded 500 millimetres, this would then trigger the requirement for a development application.
Thank you. The second question, why are the natural earth level maps not included with the town planning scheme, maps and text, and adopted by Council?
Okay, thank you. Through you, Mayor. The local planning schemes are prepared in a manner and form that's required through the planning and development regulations and are consistently applied throughout the state. The contour information is not among the required information that applies to the scheme maps. If this was a requirement, the resources required would be significant and would potentially result in an amendment to the scheme maps being necessary each time a development approval was granted, and a development approval that was granted that resulted in a change in the ground level, and that's rather impractical.
Thank you. And the final question, when was the natural earth contour maps last adopted by Council used by the city officers in determining changes to the natural earth level for the granting of planning approval for retaining walls over 0.5 of a metre?
So through you again, Mayor, so as I've mentioned before, the contour information contained in the city's mapping system is not what's relied upon in determining whether a development approval is required, but rather as a useful guide which leads officers to seek more detailed and accurate site-specific survey information in this process. Contour information used on the city's mapping system is currently from 2011 and is derived from Landgate using some light detection and ranging data.
Thank you. The next questions that we have this evening are from Harley Chester on the proposed development at Hall's Head, and I will read those on his behalf. The first question is, can any member of the council please explain what was the wow factor in the Left Coast Leisure Group's proposal that led them to choose this development over all other submissions put forward? And I will respond on that one. At the ordinary council meeting held on the 24th of May in 2022, council unanimously resolved to select 3 of the proposals to proceed to stage 2 of the selection of the preferred proposal. At the ordinary council meeting held on the 22nd of November 2022, council unanimously resolved to approve Left Coast Leisure Group as the preferred proponent. The Left Coast Leisure Group proposal offers a cohesive, family-focused tourism experience featuring a restaurant and microbrewery, a chocolate outlet, cafe and 18-hole mini golf, all designed to complement existing public uses and improve access to the foreshore. The proposal included the most significant private investment in the city centre in decades. The majority of the site is used for recreation, it creates hundreds of jobs and presents the strongest potential for ongoing economic benefit to the local community. It also demonstrates a strong commitment to environmental design, including tree retention and public access, aligned with the city's vision for a vibrant, inclusive foreshore and a commitment to undertaking consultation with Aboriginal elders, including understanding the Mandurah history and stories, dual naming celebration National Reconciliation Week, the acknowledgement of country at all events on websites, menus and other materials, being an equal opportunity employer, increasing knowledge of Aboriginal culture through ongoing staff training and incorporating features of country into landscape and mini golf design. The second question was, given that the current family-friendly nature of the Western Foreshore, would any council member be willing to explain their reasoning for considering Left Coast Leisure Group's proposal for a microbrewery, even one that includes a mini golf course and a chocolate factory, as the most suitable option for Halls Park, considering the park's current nature and especially considering that the King's Carnival's own proposal would also include a world-class golf course? And I'll answer that one. The Left Coast Leisure Group proposal aligns with the city's family-friendly and tourism goals, offering intergenerational appeal with mini golf, chocolate retail and dining options. Importantly, the microbrewery component is intended to operate as a licensed restaurant, similar to other successful waterfront venues in Mandurah, and will be located over 100 metres from the existing playground. Unlike other submissions, the successful proposal offered a multifaceted concept, stronger economic returns and clearer alignment with a strategic vision for the foreshore. The third question, given that there are over 120 breweries currently operating in Western Australia, and with Mandurah's already having 4 local microbreweries, Thorny Devil, Wedgetail, All Malt and Boundary Island, which is also a waterfront and accessible by a boat, can the council please elaborate on the tourism claim that they have made about the upcoming development as a major tourism drawcard? And I'll ask the CEO to respond on that one.
Through you, Mayor. This will provide a destination hospitality attraction on the foreshore that also offers integrated family activities such as mini golf, chocolate retail and water access, with economic modelling based on comparative southwest tourism precincts. It is estimated that when completed, all the Western Foreshore uses, which includes the playground and skate park, will attract an estimated 750,000 visits annually. The unique nature of the mixed-use offering and its central foreshore location sets it apart from existing venues.
Thank you, CEO. The next questions are from Sylvie Chester, and to read them on his behalf. The first question is, why was Halls Park status as an A-class reserve not mentioned and advertised more during the initial community consultation period? And I might refer to the Director of Strategy and Economic Development for that, because I think the CEO's voice is a little bit strained at the moment.
Okay, through you, Mayor. At the ordinary council meeting held on 28th of May 2024, council adopted a major land transaction, Western Foreshore Commercial Site Business Plan, and for an advertising period of 8 weeks. The report and the business plan included information on the commercial site, which stated that the site is within a Class A Crown Reserve with management vested in the City of Mandurah. At the ordinary council meeting held on the 27th of August 2024, council resolved to proceed with the major land transaction. The report and the business plan attached to the report included that the commercial site is currently a Class A Crown Reserve. At the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of February 2025, where council reconfirmed their position to proceed with the major land transaction, the report included that the commercial site is currently a Class A Crown Reserve.
Thank you. The second question. The current proposal has caused some significant division among local residents, and in light of this, would the council be open to working with Left Coast Leisure Group to explore alternative site options for the development, therein working towards an outcome that benefits the whole community, those in favour of the new commercial development in town and those who don't believe these developments should require the excision of any parcel of land from an A-class public reserve? And I'll again go to the Director of Strategy and Economic Development.
Okay, through you, Mayor. 1 second. This one here, okay, great. Okay, so apologies for the delay there. Through you, Mayor. The site selected as a long-established commercial use that was consistent with the outcomes of the community feedback received as part of the Mandurah Foreshore Focus 2007 community consultation and the Mandurah Waterfront Redevelopment Project in 2018. The city received a number of concerns during the advertising of the major land transaction. The city is working to address the traffic concerns as its priority.
Thank you. We'll move to the next lot of questions, which are from Amanda Chatfield, and also I'm going to read them on her behalf. The first one is, could the CEO, and I'm going to ask again the Director because the CEO is having problems with her voice this evening, please honestly indicate if they received a higher number of genuine, respectful worded emails and phone calls against the Hall Park development or for the Hall Park development in the 2 weeks prior to the February 25th council meeting. So I'll go to you.
Yep, thank you through you, Mayor. The 2-week period prior to the 25th of February council meeting was not part of the formal community consultation process, and as such, we have not analysed the sentiment of the correspondence received during that time. However, we have noted and responded to and continue to address the specific concerns and questions raised by community members outside of the formal consultation period. All feedback received during the official advertising period was carefully considered by Council on the 27th of August 2024 at the ordinary council meeting.
Thank you. The second question, what, if any, additional expenditure has been allocated to advertising the Hall Park development since the 25th of February council meeting in light of the division in the local community? For example, roadside signage and a paid social media advertisements. Through to you, to the Director of Strategy and Economic Development again.
Yep, through you, Mayor. So the entire Western Foreshore Leisure Precinct project, including the commercial site, is a significant project for Mandurah and is naturally of much interest to our local community. Given its size, the level of interest and the significant amount of misinformation circulating in the community, the city developed a communication strategy which has so far included signage, social media and advertising to point people to the factual information available on our website. City officers and staff also staffed a man and information booth across the Crabfest weekend. Within all of this, the project communication strategy has been delivered as part of the existing strategic communications and project budget for the Western Foreshore and will extend across the life of the project to keep our local community informed.
Thank you. And the final question from Ms Chatfield is, please advise the new date for the community consultation and planning meeting that was scheduled for the 11th of March and cancelled.
Okay, Through you, Mayor. The Planning and Community Consultation Committee that will be convened when a relevant agenda item requires this committee to be considered, and then it's presented to Council. So there is no further date planned.
Thank you. Thank you for your answers. I'll now move to questions from, I'd like to invite Teresa Levine to the table. Who's answering those?
Hello, I'm Teresa Levine and
Welcome.
I live in Eastport Canals.
Thank you.
My
If you'd like to
questions
present
are-
your questions.
What can the council do so our neighbourhood can be an Airbnb-free zone?
Thank you for the question. Through to the CEO.
We are going to, through you, Mayor, we are going to have to take that one on notice.
Yep.
Thank you. Your second question.
What can our neighbourhood do to make the council take action to change zoning or bylaws in regards to Airbnbs?
So thank you. I think through the CEOs we'll take that one
Yep.
notice as well.
Can the council put in place that there be a minimum of properties between each B&B in the streets?
Thank you, and we'll take that on notice as well. So
Right.
thank you for your questions, and
Thank
we will
you.
come back to you with answers for those questions. And I'd now like to invite Robin Ackroyd to the table for her questions.
Robert Ackroyd, and this is in regard to the Western Foreshore commercial site.
Thank you.
Question 1. Sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
In what ways does leasing a family and youth-orientated Class A reserve to a commercial enterprise that has a strong focus on producing and supplying alcohol align with the City of Mandurah's family and children's policy, in which the city commits to take the lead in ensuring children's environments are nurturing, culturally appropriate and safe, and in its youth strategy, in which the city commits to provide infrastructure and promote a youth-friendly environment, and to increase the protective factors and minimise harm for young people?
Thank you for the question. I'll direct that through to the CEO. CEO?
Through you, Mayor, I'll just quickly, it's important to recognise that the licensed area is within the commercial area and that alcohol is not permitted outside of that site. Alcohol is consumed on the current commercial site, and so what this proposal is in relation to alcohol, does not apply over the entire Western Foreshore site. It is only the commercial site. I will ask the Director of Strategy and Economic Development to respond further.
Yep, thank you. Through you, Mayor. So the proposed commercial development on the Western Foreshore forms just one part of a broader family-focused precinct that includes a Kalunga Wabini playground, a regional level skate park, new event and recreation spaces, and improved access to the water. The licensed restaurant and microbrewery will be more than 100 metres away from the play space and has been designed as a family-friendly venue, alongside mini golf, a cafe and chocolate shop. To address the community concerns around safety and health concerns, the City is committed to working with the Liquor Licensing Authority to ensure harm minimisation strategies are in place, including restricted trading hours, a limit on alcohol service to 10 p.m, and a preparation of a harm minimisation plan. Importantly, the revenue generated from the lease, which is about 6.2 million over the 25 years, will be reinvested into maintaining and enhancing the Western Foreshore, including public open spaces and youth-friendly infrastructure. The broader project will also generate hundreds of local jobs and training opportunities, including for young people through partnership with the South Metro TAFE.
Thank you. If you'd like to put your next question. And before we go any further, though, I will extend public question time because we have gone well over the 15 minutes, but I will extend that for another 15.
Thank you. Question 2. Why is the City of Mandurah contravening the principles and objectives of its public health and wellbeing plan and its alcohol management plan by imparting, through its planning decisions and actions for the Western Foreshore, the message that access to alcohol is an essential aspect of family leisure and recreation and therefore a necessary element of a Class A reserve?
Thank you for the question. Through to the CEO.
Just as I responded in question 1, it's important to recognise that alcohol is not indicated throughout the entire A-class reserve. It is only the part of the reserve that is excised, that is being proposed to be excised. and I will get our Director to respond further.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor. Just to add to that response, the proposed development in the Western Foreshore is intended to deliver a balanced mix of family-friendly recreation, tourism and commercial activity, and includes a licensed restaurant and microbrewery alongside a cafe, chocolate factory, mini golf course and expansive public open space, including a playground and skate park already enjoyed by many families. The inclusion of a licensed venue does not reflect a view that alcohol is essential to family recreation, nor is it being positioned as the focal point in the precinct. Rather, it's part of a broader intergenerational leisure offering designed to attract locals and visitors throughout the year. The city is proactively managing potential risks by working closely with relevant authorities to ensure the venue operates within strict harm minimisation conditions, as I mentioned in your response to your last question. This include in restricted trading hours, again closing by 10%, security measures and the development of a harm minimisation plan through the liquor licensing process.
Thank you. If you'd like to place your third
Question 3. In what ways does excising a Class A reserve for the purpose of commercialisation and car parking align with the City of Mandurah's environment strategy, in which the city commits to maximise nature's place in the urban landscape and ensure it is protected for generations to come, champion sustainable and active transport opportunities to deliver an accessible, pedestrian-linked, eco-centric city that maximises nature's place in our urban environment, and lead by example and foster a reputation as a reliable and trustworthy environmental advocate and defender, ensuring nature has a voice at the table in all decisions?
Thank you for your question, and I'll direct that through to the Director of Strategy and Economic Development.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. So the proposal is 8,000 metres squared, with the built form component is approximately 35%, and the remainder will be utilised for the purposes of the mini golf course, trees, green space and landscaping. This ensures that the city and the proponent maximise tree retention, protecting the environmental value of the site. The city has ensured that the proponent maximise tree retention, protecting the environmental values of the site through our discussions with them. Enhancing our green spaces, including upgrading our Western Foreshore, is a priority under the environment strategy. Preservation, enhancement and growth of the urban canopy is also an important part of the environment strategy and Green Mandurah framework, and it's the case that with the continuous improvement of the city's parks, tree retention remains a significant priority and part of the vision guiding this redevelopment. The redevelopment itself includes additional tree planting around the village green and parking areas and will increase the existing urban tree canopy and provide more usable shade for those enjoying the space. The proposed 18-hole mini golf course, the tree canopy landscaping comprises over about 65% of the total commercial site of this area, and the additional land area is marginally larger as a result of the desire to retain the tree canopy, allowing the mini golf to wind around the existing trees and ensure that they're retained. Tree retention also remains a priority, in addition to increasing throughout the reserve with additional parking to increase the usability of the area. The city will be conducting a range of environment-related site assessments as part of its due diligence process in advance of any development application for the site. It's important to remember we're still at the very early stages here. These assessments will include flora and fauna assessment, including a tree retention plan, arborist report, site contamination report, geotechnical report and coastal risk assessment. In terms of the retention of green space, due to the planned additional parking requirements to facilitate the Western Foreshore Leisure Precinct, there's an anticipated reduction of around about 11% of green space of a current area of about 59,500 metres squared. The green space refers to the grass area only that's included within the village green space. It is grass only, doesn't include trees, and is not the total reserve area. It's important to remember. Green space estimate. The green space estimated calculation is based on the Australian parking base standards, where are 2.4 to 2.6 metres wide and 5.4 metres long. The total green space is 39,500 metres squared. The proposed car parking is 4,375 metres squared. Prior to the Mandurah Bridge being constructed, there was a significant car park adjacent to the water between the commercial operator fire track and skate park, and this area is about 4,230 metres squared. Detailed design of the parking will be required. And then just finally to round this out, the parking is required in order to provide an additional infrastructure to cater for the increasing use of residents and visitors as a significant public open space in line with the Western Foreshore Leisure Precinct Concept Master Plan and City Centre Master Plan. There will be a net increase in the tree canopy as a result of this, of the developments taking place or proposed. The enhancements to the precinct will improve the usability of the space for the broader community and visitors. An additional planting of trees will improve the usability of the green space and assist in providing adequate shade for users. The proposed Western Foreshore commercial site has been designed to maximise this green retention in the space, with the 18-hole mini golf course designed to maintain the number of existing trees and reflect the historic and cultural significance of this site.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions this evening. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the floor? If there are no further questions, I'll close question time at 5 minutes past 6. Thank you. Next, we'll move to public statements, and there are none. We'll move to leave of absences. Are there any councillors wishing to submit a leave of absence request? Thank you. We do have a leave of absence request from Councillor Schumacher from the 1st of April 2025 to the 1st of May. Can I please have a mover? Councillor Zawani, and a seconder. Councillor Smith. Thank you very much. Can we put that to the vote? Those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. Are there any other leaves of absence requests tonight? No, we don't have any others. Thank you. Petitions. There are no petitions. Presentations. We have no presentations, and we have no deputations. The confirmation of the minutes. I now call for a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday the 25th of March. No, that is not the right date. That is definitely not the right date. February. Beg your pardon. So that's the 25th of February 2025. Please, can I please have a mover? Councillor Schumacher, and a seconder, Councillor Rogers. Can I put that to the vote? That is carried. Thank you very much. Announcements by the presiding member. Now it gives me absolute great pleasure to announce that for March 2025, our local legend is Simon Roth. And if you'd like to come through to the question table there. Informally known as Rothy to his friends and family. So welcome. Yes, I'd like to take a seat there. Would your daughter like to join you at the table? No? Would you like to join Dad at the table? So Simon Roth is a true leader and an outstanding role model in the Mandurah community. His dedication extends far beyond his position as president of the Mandurah Board Riders Club. He actively contributes to the growth of our community through his previous work with St Damian's Catholic Primary School, South Hall's Head Girls Football and Port Brevard Surf Lifesaving Club, where he focuses on youth engagement and fostering a strong sense of community spirit. Simon's leadership is rooted in his genuine passion for helping others. He takes the time to mentor young surfers, ensuring the club remains inclusive and supportive for all members. His ability to inspire and guide the next generation of surfers speaks volumes about his character. But it's not just his everyday actions that Simon shines. His bravery was tested in the most extraordinary way when he risked his life to save a young boy at Pyramids Beach. Despite suffering a broken ankle, Simon battled strong currents for 45 minutes to bring the boy to safety. A remarkable act of heroism that speaks of his selfless and unwavering commitment to others. Simon Roth is the embodiment of courage, compassion and leadership. His contributions to both the Mandurah Board Riders Club and our wider community are nothing short of truly inspiring. So please join me in thanking Simon.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate the award, and it's a definite honour to receive it. I suppose it's something, obviously I've been in the community for a long time, so it's always important, I feel, to give back to the community. In terms of the rescue, I think it's just one of those things you do. There was no one on the beach at the time. The family couldn't swim, and just by chance I was there. And basically, by the time I got to the buoy, he was going under and definitely would have drowned. So it was a pretty hardcore, hectic effort, but it's something I think you just got to do. And I'm glad everyone survived. So thank you.
So proud to have people like you in our community. So thank you. Thank you for coming up as well. So next I'd like to go through the orders of the day. Councillors have been very busy this past month. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Councillor Wilkins, who attended the Country Pennants Association opening ceremony.
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier this month, I had the pleasure of representing yourself and the council at the opening of the 25 Country Pennants Swimming Championships at the Mandurah Aquatic Centre. I joined our federal member for Canning, Andrew Hasty, in welcoming over 150 swimmers from 30 different clubs from all over the state, with teams from Karratha, Albany and everywhere in between, who along with their friends and family spent the weekend in Mandurah enjoying the event, but also taking in the hospitality of our amazing city. It's clear from the long history that the Country Pennants hold a special place in the swimming community. And it was also awesome to see such great display of togetherness, giving teams across the state the opportunity to showcase their talent in the pool, but also their incredible sportsmanship and team spirit. One of the highlights for me was seeing local artist Ellie Moody collaborating on the event merchandise, which featured our amazing Giants of Mandurah, so that was pretty cool. Scored myself a trucker hat, which probably paid too much for, but it's a very nice one. I should also acknowledge Councillor Shannon Wright, who not only attended the opening ceremony, but also presented the medals at the closing ceremony on the Sunday. Massive thanks to the Aquatic Centre staff, who were flat out all weekend, as well as to everyone at the Mandurah Swimming Club, who along with Swimming WA were tasked with pulling the event together and did a tremendous job. Given the success of the championships, I'm sure we will see a return to Mandurah very soon.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkins. Next we'll move to Councillor Kearns, who celebrated International Women's Day.
Thank you so much, through the Chair. Yes, I had the absolute pleasure of joining our extraordinary Councillor Jess Smith at the International Women's Day event at the Seabull. So there was 2 International Women's Day events in Mandurah this year. I'm speaking about the Soroptimist one, but I'd also like to include the Zonta one, because both of those events were created for not just women to come together, but also our men. And I think one of the things that is a misunderstanding with International Women's Day is we often think that it's all about women, but we need our men to be championing our women as well. So these events, what I found really special this year, with the theme being Accelerate Action, is actually empowering our men to support their women to step out and be brave and really championing each other, because I think often we compete against each other, when these events is really trying to connect our women in our community to champion each other, not compete, and realise that we're not each other's competition, and we can do so much more by rising and lifting up those as we rise. So super exciting. And with the Soroptimist one, all the money raised is going back to the Return to School project, which is really spearheaded by Dawn and Wendy from Soroptimist. And this is an incredible project that sees, you know, hundreds of local kids go back to school with everything that they need to learn and thrive. So incredible events, but I think highlighted this year was the fact that we don't just need our men to champion us, but it would be also great to see our men in those events, because, yeah, you get to hear from inspiring women, and we've got so many incredibly inspiring women in Mandurah, and it's always lovely to join that space with Jess and Carol and I. And I think that's something I also want to quickly mention is, you know, we've only got 3 women on council, and now that we're live streaming this year's election year, and so if other women want to run for council, that would be amazing, because I think 3 out of 13 is just not good enough for our community. So go women, great week.
Thank you, Councillor Kearns. We'll now go to Councillor Smith, who attended the Mandurah Action Sports Games opening ceremony.
Thank you, through the Mayor. It's a hard act to follow, Councillor Kearns. Friday, 14th of March, I had the pleasure of representing the Mayor to open the Action Sports Games as part of the Crabfest celebrations. The event brought together the best national and international athletes in wakeboarding, skateboarding, BMX freestyle scooter riding, trampolining, roller skating and freestyle motocross, with competitors coming from as far as Italy for the event. I did mention to the organisers that I wish professional trampolining was around in my day because I feel like I would have been a champion. So while the Eastern Foreshore was buzzing with gourmet delights of Crabfest, the Western Foreshore was just a hub of adrenaline. It was a pumping competition. There was up to $30,000 of prize, cash and prizes up for grabs. The conditions for the wakeboarding weren't ideal, but everyone did such an amazing job. It was a really, really exciting couple of days on the water. And it's a really exciting and diverse addition to the Crabfest. So it's not just about food and family, but a bit of sport as well. The event organiser, Tim Thirsk, and President of Wakeboarding WA, Simone Kennedy, praised the event and the impact that it's having on specifically wakeboarding in WA. And I'd just like to add that Simone is a Mandurah local, and earlier this year she represented Australia at the World Championships in Italy, taking out the world title in the veteran women's category, which I think is phenomenal. So maybe local legend for next month coming her way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to go to Councillor Jackson to reflect on the citizenship ceremony, which was very impressive this last week.
Largest ever, actually. 111 adults, 33 children from 27 countries officially became new citizens and chose Mandurah as the place to do it. Word's gotten out that this is the place to come and become a citizen. We rock. I mean, it is a serious event, but it's not a sombre event. One of the things I really look forward to is hearing those massive subwoofers crank out Midnight Oil. Jimmy Barnes, Men at Work, Daddy Cool, John Farnham, all the big names get rocked out, and we have a party. I think on stage we had one couple started dancing after they... we always have something different happen every time. I always warn the people getting their new citizens certificates not to push the councillors off the stage in their exuberance. It hasn't happened yet, but this time we had a catcher just in case. So we did have Amber Kearns, perilously close to the edge. Ahmed Zilani, Andrew Hastie, our federal member, was there, the mayor of course, and Trevor Stack gave the welcome to country. We had a birthday as well. One of the children getting their citizenship had a birthday, and Amber stepped up and led the entire auditorium in a happy birthday. And one of the things that I really was impressed with, and I always am, is that the room really gets it and really supports, especially children. We had the first official outing for our new deputy mayor and junior deputy mayor. And you could feel the love in the room, to coin a phrase. They were just swelling with pride and come off a fresh election, and everybody was with them. The room was holding them. I really loved that. We take for granted, I reckon, our citizenship a lot of the time. We just go, oh yeah, we're Australian. But when you see new citizens and just what it means to them, it's like, yeah, we really are the lucky country. This is a brilliant place to be, brilliant place to live, and I'm continually reminded of how lucky we are when we do these citizenship ceremonies. I invite you to come along and have a look. It really is a great thing to do. It's not a boring thing that you just turn up and listen to speeches. I would encourage you next time we have one, just come along and rock on with us at the citizenship ceremonies.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson, and it really is one of the highlights of the month when we have a citizenship. So it's such a special night, and it means so much to so many people. Now I'd like to go to Councillor Wright to talk about another day that was the morning, actually, of the citizenship that was also very, very special. So over to you.
It was indeed. So you get the school principal to talk about the junior council, which I appreciate that. It's my bread and butter. But the Junior Council, just like the Australian citizenship ceremony, Councillor Smith, Councillor Kearns and Mayor Knight were there, and through the chair earlier. But I was saying to Councillor Smith at the beginning of the proceedings, what a wonderful day ahead of me I've got. I've got junior council in the morning, and then I've got the Australian citizenship in the evening, which unfortunately I couldn't make in the end. But it is just one of those delightful moments, such as the local legend of the month, that is a real privilege to serve on council and be able to participate in these things. Enough about how I'm feeling about it though. The junior council elections this year, I've never seen two kids more excited for receiving an award. So the junior mayor is Gypsy Hunt and Alyssa Umbras was the deputy junior mayor, captured perfectly on camera. But their reactions are one of those moments, particularly as an educator, where you look around Mandurah and we've got 21 primary schools, 42 kids. The amount of time and energy that goes into building kids to have that reaction is incredible. The number of adults that step up to the plate first to give these kids every opportunity to be inspiring leaders down the track in our community. And I cannot thank the city officers enough. I'm at a new school at the moment, and Jessica Roberts-Tyndall is one of the parents at Golden Bay Primary School, and she contacted me before, but to see what she's achieved so far in such a short amount of time, it's no wonder we proceed with that program. To top it off, we had one of the more charismatic young fellas going around, Jimmy Wong, in the outgoing junior mayor. They're presenting the girls with their, what did they get? The chains. And yeah, well done to everyone. I think it's just one of those lovely moments. So really happy to share it. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. And I just wanted to say a few words about the Crab Fest, because I'm sure everyone was aware that we've had Crab Fest on the 15th and 16th, and what an absolutely fantastic weekend it was. Had over 100,000 people attend, and it was our 24th Crab Fest. So last year, Crab Fest injected a whopping 15 million into our local economy. So I imagine it will be similar this year. Not only does it have that massive economic stimuli, it's a time when our city really, really shines. And I think this last Crab Fest with the improvements on the eastern foreshore, our city really did come to life, and it really was a wonderful event. Really want to acknowledge all the volunteers that helped over that weekend, because I believe there were over 100 volunteers that helped, but also across the city, in all the different areas of the city. There's so much work that goes into preparing and running the Crab Fest weekend. So a really big thank you to everyone, and it just filled me with such pride to see our city absolutely sparkle over the weekend. So thank you to everyone. And with that, we will now move on to declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations? So elected members and officers are now asked to declare any real or perceived interests that they may have in respect of the reports. And do we have any, CEO?
Through you, Mayor, there's two declarations of interest. The first is by Councillor Bob Pond in relation to item 1, the decommissioning of the liquid waste facility at the Tim's Thicket Waste Management Facility, and it's an impartiality interest due to his employment with the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation, which is referenced in the report. And the second declaration is by Councillor Daniel Wilkins in relation to report number 4 for the mid-year review, and it's an impartiality interest as Councillor Wilkins is a council representative on the Mandurah Performing Arts Centre Board.
Thank you, CEO. So given that they are both impartiality interests, both councillors are able to remain in the room for those items. Next, we'll move to questions from elected members, questions which due notice has been given. And we do have some questions from elected members. I will go to Councillor Burns first.
Thank you, Chair. I've got 4 parts to my questions. If I can ask them and then get the response, and then I'll move on to the next part.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's 4 parts. There's a couple of questions in each part, up to a couple of questions. So the first part is the City of Mandurah began delivering waste to the Kwinana Waste to Energy plant late last year. Can you provide an update of the project's status, including whether the city is meeting or exceeding its contracted waste delivery volumes? Additionally, can you confirm whether the project is meeting the expectations outlined to Council during the decision-making process? Does the city regard the project as a success based on the first 4 months of operation?
Thank you. Through to the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, the City commenced delivery of its waste to the Kwinana Energy Recovery or KER plant on 16th of December 2024 as part of the commissioning phase of this project. Despite some delays in the commissioning phase, the City has been disposing of its full complement of waste to the plant, which is approximately 850 tonne per week, since late February this year. The disposal of waste to the plant enables the City to achieve its targets, diversion of waste from landfill and increased resource recovery.
Thank you. Next question.
The WA State Government has a policy requiring all local governments to transition to FOGO, Food Organics and Garden Organics bin system, which will likely place an additional burden on Mandurah residents and ratepayers. What is the current status of this requirement?
Thank you. Through to the Director.
The City addresses the State Government's waste strategy and related targets through its waste plan. It is understood that the State Government is presently reviewing the State waste strategy, and details of this are expected shortly. The City is also due to review its waste plan in 25-26, and as part of this review, the City will respond to the revised State waste strategy and related targets, including those associated with FOGO and the City's obligations under the supply agreement for the delivery of waste to the KER plant.
Thank you. Next question.
If this State Government policy remains in effect, and given the City of Mandurah's contractual obligation to supply a minimum quantity of waste to the waste-to-energy plant, is the City seeking exemption from the State Government for the FOGO requirement, and if so, what progress has been made in securing this exemption? And I'll just complete. And finally, is an exemption the only avenue to reduce the risk to ratepayers of having to effectively pay twice for environmental waste initiatives?
Thank you. Through to the Director.
Through the Mayor, so primarily that's responded to in the previous part of my response. So at this stage, there's been no approach around an exemption. Effectively, the City intends to deal with this through the revised waste plan that will respond to the revised State waste strategy and related targets. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Burns. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, through the Mayor. The first two questions I'm asking on behalf of Wannanup resident Jane Emerton regarding repair to the stairs to the lookout at Alexis Circle in Wannanup. Could you please provide an explanation as to why the repair of the stairs to the lookout at Alexis Circle, Wannanup, has experienced such significant delay? The issue was first reported in November 23, yet repairs are not scheduled to be completed until July 2025.
Thank you. Through to the Director. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, the City was advised by an independent structural engineer that the stairs could not be repaired and required replacement. Given the cost associated with the replacement works, these were included in the 24-25 budget. A contractor has been engaged to complete the works, however the timeline has been subject to their availability and also materials supply, which has resulted in the works being programmed to commence in May and being completed by the end of June this financial year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Second question through the Mayor. Replacement of fencing from Alexis Circle footpath to Avalon Beach. I'd appreciate your comments regarding the replacement of the fencing along the Alexis Circle footpath down to Avalon Beach. The current fencing has been damaged, allowing individuals to access the beach via the dunes. This situation presents a safety concern as it exposes people to limestone rocks and caves in the area, and there's a risk of further damage to the dunes.
Thank you. Through to the Director.
Through the Mayor, the City is presently investigating this matter, and any fence repairs or replacement will be carried out as soon as practicable. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. And two further questions which have come to me just yesterday, just regarding the implementation of crosswalks near Ocean Road Primary School and St Damian's Catholic Primary School in Dawesville. Could officers please provide an update on the proposed installation of crosswalks near Ocean Road Primary School and St Damian's Catholic Primary School, as a safety risk has been identified specifically at the corner of Bailey Boulevard North and Old Coast Road, as well as at Wickerpan Parade. Currently there's only one crosswalk, and that's located at the north end of Dan Darrigan Drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Through to the Director.
Through the Mayor, both of those matters are currently being investigated, but in order to provide a detailed response, I would ask to take the question on notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you. I'll leave the other question. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we'll move to, are there any questions from elected members? I wish to ask tonight. Councillor Rogers.
Thanks. Two without notice, actually. One in relation to a question that was raised from the public, and one just in relation to the questions on the waste to energy plant. In relation to the Norfolk Island Pines question, it was my understanding that council previously considered revisions to its policy in relation to trees on council verges. Just seeking clarity from the officers if it was the case that that policy was bolstered so that should residents be suffering damage to their property, a request can be made to the city for the removal of the trees, subject to a number of conditions and considerations being included, being considered as a part of that request. Just seeking a reminder and clarity that that was forming part of a policy amendment that was previously considered by council.
Thank you. I'll direct that through to the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, certainly there was a review of the policy relating to street trees at or about the time that previous petition was considered. And certainly there is provision within the policy that basically one of the criteria for consideration of removal of trees is based on a hazard to people and property. So if that does constitute a hazard, then that is certainly grounds for consideration of removal of a street tree. So thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
question.
it. Thank you. Just in relation to the waste to energy plant as well, just a point of clarity around the FOGO requirement from state government, was just seeking to refresh my memory and clarity from the officers that when we considered the waste plan at council, which was required by council to do, did it form part of the resolution that we recognised that we were bringing the waste to energy plant online as part of Rivers Regional Council, and that we were making representations to the state to have them adjust their waste strategy to potentially reflect the fact that we could be compelled to do FOGO and we've got the waste to energy plant. I don't know if that was included in the response, but just seeking clarity on that one.
Thank you. Through to the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, certainly there have been ongoing discussions between, I guess, the DWER, state government agency responsible for waste, and also the city, as well as other local governments. There's been no finality around those discussions, but formally the way that we would address the state government waste strategy and the policy requirements, which are not a statutory requirement, but a policy requirement, effectively through our waste plan. And with the state strategy currently under review and our waste plan about to be reviewed, effectively that would be, in my opinion, the appropriate format for us to, I guess, resolve any of those issues. Ultimately, we have to submit our endorsed waste plan to DWER, effectively the state government agency, for review and approval before that is finalised. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rogers.
Yeah, apologies. I might just simplify the question. Notwithstanding, appreciate all the response to that one from the Director, Mayor. Was it a previous consideration of council that the waste to energy plant and the FOGO requirements presented a clash, and it was going to address it with the state government as presented to council?
Thank you. Through to the Director.
Through the Mayor, so the city's waste plan certainly addressed the issue around our commitments for waste to energy. Effectively, our waste plan was never formally approved by the state government, but neither has there been any recent correspondence from the state government around, I guess, having to address that issue around the FOGO policy and basically the city's commitments to the waste energy contract. So effectively, again, we expect that will be addressed through the review of the waste strategy and the city's waste plan. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkins, I believe you had a question.
Thank you, Mayor. I just spoke glowingly of the swimming championships, and I don't want to devalue such a great event, but the residents surrounding the aquatic centre were impacted greatly by the excess of cars, the parking all over the side verges, and at times quite dangerous traffic conditions. Can I just ask the City of Mandurah if they have parking and local traffic plans in place for these larger events, and if not, can they please be considered going forward to limit impacting residents living nearby?
Thank you, Councillor Wilkins. Through to the CEO.
We might take that particular event in relation to whether there was a local traffic management plan in place. We'll take that on notice, but generally events require a local traffic management plan approved by the city.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Chair. Just getting back to the waste to energy plan, with the state government strategy, I think it was, that's under review, is there an avenue to lodge formal submissions that they would consider for that strategy review? And if so, would it be the City of Mandurah's intent to lodge a formal submission? Or is there a facility available through the Rivers region? Or would you consider a combined one, or both?
Thank you, Councillor Burns.
Through the Mayor, and I might seek clarification from the relevant officer, but we would expect that there would be a period of consultation around the draft strategy, but effectively that's something that I don't believe we've been advised of yet. And I guess as a second part to that question, yes, that once we saw that strategy, we would certainly brief elected members, and if it was contradictory to our commitments and I guess our strategic direction, we would certainly seek to provide comment both through I guess the city, but also potentially through the Rivers Regional subsidiary. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Schumacher, I believe you had a question.
Thank you, through the Chair. Just a couple of questions. In relation to the Western Foreshore and all the advertising on social media, I believe radio, I did hear, but I'm not sure, cinema, how much was allowed in the budget for public advertising, and how much has been spent?
Thank you, Councillor Schumacher. Through to the CEO.
I'll have to take that one on notice.
Thank you. Councillor Schumacher.
Through the Chair. In relation to our public toilets, I was just looking for an update on how the review of maintenance and cleaning is going and how far we've progressed.
Thank you, Councillor Schumacher. Through to the Director.
Through the Mayor. So the city did increase cleaning frequency and arrangements at the Eastern Foreshore public ablutions. Certainly to date, the feedback I've had is that was largely successful. We'll be, I guess, considering particularly that outcome further, and happy to brief elected members on that and get any specific feedback. So thank you.
So thank you. Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you, through the Chair. In the quarterly performance report, services business as usual functions, it states under Service L17, maintain roads, transport, drainage, infrastructure assets, that in Q2, October through December, 39% or 6.2 million of the city maintenance program has been delivered. That's allowing now 61% to can be completed in the 2 quarters to the end of the financial year. Is that going to be achieved?
Thank you, Councillor Schumacher. Through to the Director.
Through the Mayor, if I could take that question on notice, I'd be happy to come back with a detailed response. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from councillors? Okay, if not, we will move to business left over from previous meetings, and there is none. Now we'll move to the recommendations of committees, and the first item that we have is the Audit and Risk Committee report, the Compliance Audit Return. The officer's recommendation, or the council resolution from that committee report, is there before you on the screen. Can I please ask for a mover and a seconder? Councillor Rogers and Councillor Kearns. Can I move to Councillor Rogers?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a requirement of all local governments under the Local Government Act and the regulations to complete every year based on a a template from the department which outlines a number of legal compliance obligations against the Act and the regulations. The staff have quite diligently completed a very comprehensive compliance audit return, which was considered at our most recent Risk and Audit Committee. It was a very good conversation in relation to the outcomes of that report, and a very good outcome in my mind. I think everybody wants 100%, but I have seen these done in other local governments where there is probably not the level of seriousness that is given to it given to it here at the City of Mandurah. We don't treat this as a tick box exercise. I think we treat it as a serious obligation and function, which allows for continuous improvement within the City of Mandurah. So I applaud the staff for the level of rigour that they've given to this, and notwithstanding that, it's still an incredibly high level of compliance against legal obligations, and allows the city to address any of the remaining gaps that it may have in relation to its compliance obligations. So happy to support the recommendation as it is on the screen in front of the council to adopt the compliance audit return and provide it through to the department.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Can we move to the seconder, Councillor Kearns?
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, I totally agree with Councillor Rogers' sentiment. 97.9% is pretty awesome, I think, and I think, yeah, like you said, it's great to have room to improve, but it's also great to actually look at how good we are doing as an organisation. And personally, I'm super proud of that, and to be on the audit and risk and seeing the people around the table that take a lot of time in ensuring that we stay on top of things is really impressive, and I've learnt a lot being in that committee, and thank you, Councillor Rogers, for chairing that. So yeah, I'm all for it, and yeah, it's a compliance issue if we don't do it. So, tick.
Thank you, Councillor Kearns. Does anyone have any questions or wish to speak against the item? If that's the case, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried. Thank you. The next item that we have is Report 1, the decommissioning of the liquid waste facility at the Tim Sickett Waste and Management Facility. The council resolution is before you, or the officer's recommendation is before you on the screen. Can I please ask for a mover and a seconder for this item? Councillor Schumacher. And Councillor Wright, sorry. Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you, through the chair. Very happy to move the motion as put, the officer's recommendation. This has been a long time in its coming, and it will be fantastic to see, hopefully sooner rather than later, but it's got to go through DEWA first to get approved, that this ground be returned to its natural form, and that the risk of contaminants from years gone past has been removed out of our environment. So I support it 100%.
Thank you, Councillor Schumacher. Move to Councillor Wright.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or anyone wishing to speak against the item? No, if that's the case, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And thank you for those people down who've come in to see that today. Thank you. So report 2, the Club Night Lights program, the 2025-26 Small Grants Round. The resolution is before you on the screen. Can I please ask for a mover and a seconder? Councillor Wilkins and Councillor Smith. Councillor Wilkins.
Happy to support this one. This is great news for the various and many sporting groups that use Rushton Park North. Should this be supported by Council, the improved lighting will enable the clubs to have structure their training sessions better, host night fixtures, and ultimately maximise one of the most popular assets the city has in Rushton Park. Yeah, happy to support the rating for the Club Nights Lights application, and I urge my fellow councillors to do the same.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkins. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, through the Mayor. Nothing greatly different to Councillor Wilkins. I just love the fact that it will be utilised by at least 4 clubs supporting the participation of roughly 550 football players, and like you said, enabling scheduling of night games. Also the energy efficient solution and bringing up to Australian standards, I think is very important. And I do appreciate Councillor Burns's comments during the last meeting on can the lights be used again when we're considering the Rushton Park redevelopment, and I appreciated the response to that. So hopefully they will be able to be utilised as the plan progresses. So I'd like to happily second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Do we have any questions in relation to that item? Anyone wishing to speak against it? If not, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we'll move to report 3, which is the local law review. The recommendation is before you on the screen. Can I please call for a mover and a seconder? Does anyone wish? Councillor Rogers, Councillor Kearns. Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, not being members of the Commonwealth Parliament or the State Parliament, we don't really have very large legislative scope as a poor little local government. However, local government does have a function of setting local laws in some very distinct areas, and one of those for all local government that's probably the biggie and the most important is the local law with respect to property and public places. It's sort of a fairly critical area for local government. We've gone through, as the report quite succinctly indicates in the summary, we've gone through a consultation process, and clearly updates to the local law from its version that was previously approved in 2016. Amendments have been identified and need to be made. As a result, a report will be coming back to Council to commence what is an extremely lengthy process in relation to the amendment of local laws and subsequent adoption. It's one of those processes where you really want to cross every T and dot every I, because you kind of have to start right back from go if you get it wrong. So I appreciate that the report made mention that there will be a workshop to be going through with elected members to discuss the feedback that's come in and the proposed plan for the final version that ultimately gets sent through the, like I said, incredibly long approval process that's outlined under the report. So yeah, lovely to be a part of local law amendment process for what is probably our most important local law, and I support the recommendation as contained in the paper.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Councillor Kearns, you wish to speak?
I have nothing further to add. Thank you, Councillor Rogers.
Thank you. Are there any questions or anyone wishing to speak against the item? If that's the case, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we'll move to report 4, which is the mid-year budget review. The resolution is on the screen before you. I'll call for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Zolani and Councillor Rogers. Councillor Zolani.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a well-prepared report, and I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the officers involved in its preparation. I have noted that $244,832 has been saved between July 2024 and January 2025. While I acknowledge this effort, I believe there is potential for greater savings. In my view, every budget should allow for a minimum savings target of 2 to 3%. And I strongly encourage officers to explore further opportunities for cost reductions. Furthermore, I want to make it absolutely clear that I will not support any rate increase in the next financial year. It is essential that our spending remains focused on the city's core responsibilities. The immediate budget review is a legal requirement that must be approved by 31st March 2025. Considering this obligation, I will support the immediate budget review to ensure compliance with our legal responsibilities. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councillor Zolani. Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, happy to talk about this budget. Just acknowledging, I think, the same point as Councillor Zolani, that the council financial and performance policy outlines a target in relation to efficiency program savings, which are presented regularly back to council through reports from the officers, and there's been substantial work that's been made there and substantial savings, which is incredibly impressive given that the staff are about to hit the target that's been set by council. My experience with the city of Mandurah is they have an attitude of always striving for continuous improvement and pressing for excellence where possible. Just because the target set by council has been reached, I have no doubt that staff will continue the work of finding further efficiency program savings. Just as Councillor Zolani was mentioning, to push further to find further savings, sort of have no doubt about that, and look forward to that report being presented back to council. In relation to the actual budget review itself, it's a matter of good governance. We're 9 months into the financial year, and for areas of major variation, both up and down, it's important that we have a revision prior to the final 3 months of the financial year, and so that the work that's been done in relation to the budget review, I think, is an important thing for us to consider, and I am happy to support the work that's been prepared by staff and has previously been presented to councillors as a part of a workshop and briefing. So thank you to the staff, particularly the financial staff who tirelessly work on our numbers, and happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Is there anyone with a question or anyone who wishes? Question, Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Chair. Just in response to a point Councillor Zolani made when he moved the motion, could the relevant officer clarify, does the mid-year budget review require to be approved by the 31st of March by council, or merely it to be completed and submitted to council for consideration by that date, and therefore no obligation for council to approve?
Thank you, Councillor Burns. I will direct that through to the Director of Business Services.
Thank you. Under the Local Government Financial Management Regulations 1996, Regulation 33A Review of Budget, under 33A2, the review of the annual budget for a financial year must be submitted to the council on or before the 31st of March in that financial year. And 3, a council is to consider a review submitted to it and is to determine by absolute majority whether or not to adopt the review, any parts of the review or recommendations made to the review.
Thank you. Further question, Councillor Burns.
So if you could confirm that we're not required to necessarily pass it, just consider it.
Yes, I will, through the chair, I will confirm that council is required under the regs to consider a review, and then as part of that consideration you need to determine whether you accept it or you don't accept it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Is there anyone wishing to speak against the item? Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Chair. I did not support the original budget, and I can't support this one. While some savings have been found, they fall well short of what is needed, in my opinion. There were further opportunities to reduce costs and ease the burden on ratepayers, and opportunities that were not taken. At a time when many of our community are struggling with financial pressures, we have a responsibility to ensure that every dollar is spent wisely. More could have been done and more should have been done to ease that burden through a serious and disciplined approach to cutting costs and prioritising essential services. Until we see that commitment, I can't support this budget and this budget review. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. Is there anyone wishing to speak for the item? If that's the case, I will put the item to the vote. All those in favour of the item? Those against? Councillor Burns is opposed. That is, and Councillor Cumberworth, beg your pardon, are opposed. That is carried. Thank you. The next item is the financial report for February 2025, and I would like to invite Jared to the table for the presentation.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, the financial report for February 2025. As usual, I'll start off with the graphs. For the operating graphs, you can see that operating income is sitting right on the budget line. Operating expenditure sitting just below the line. Still great to see there. And the graphs for capital, the non-operating income has flatlined a little bit to February. However, the capital expenditure, we're starting to see an uptick in February that we would expect towards the end of the financial year. So as we complete more projects, we will receive more funding. So we should expect to see non-operating income increase as well towards the end of the financial year. Interest saved through our loan offset facility so far to February is $151,000, and we have term deposit interest still attracting rates of around 5%. We will see that come down a little bit with the interest rate decreasing. Our rates receivable at February 2024, we had 93.7% collected. February this year, we are tracking a bit lower with 83.6% collected. The reason for that is last year, our final instalment was due around February. This year it's March, so we should see a decrease in March. Watch that space next meeting. Tracking on the rate collections for over 10,000, we are tracking pretty close to where we were last year, and 3 to 10,000 also tracking quite well on those lines as well. We have no budget variations in this monthly report due to the mid-year review also in the agenda. And the tenders for February are in the report and detailed on the screen. And I'd like to note that the city's procurement team observed the tender evaluation process and is satisfied that the probity and procedural aspects relating to the evaluation were compliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of the manager in relation to the presentation? No? Thank you. So the recommendation is before you on the screen. Can I please call for a mover and a seconder? Councillor Rogers. Councillor Wilkins. Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. As always, wonderful to receive the monthly financial reports, and it's an important part of our function as council in relation to monitoring expenditure and revenue in relation to the local government authority. Just importantly, under the key capital projects that we have listed under this report, I think it's important to note that there's some great work that's occurring in relation to the Coodnup foreshore, so I'm sure that the East Ward councillors will be incredibly happy about that kicking off. For the Coastal Ward councillors, the work progressing in relation to the Dawesville Community Centre is incredibly exciting, and I'll come to the probably the most important part of the report in relation to the schedules for that in schedules of fees in a second. Just in relation to the waterfront project, I think it's particularly important to note that the reason that we get these key capital projects included in this final budget is we're wanting to know as a council if projects are going to be delivered on time and on budget. What's wonderful when you think about what's included in this, the estuary pool, the Eastern Foreshore South Reserve Area, the toilet block, and Eastern Foreshore North and Central, there's a substantial amount of work in there. And the fact that the actuals are still below budget is wonderful. And I think it bears noting that this council was wanting to ensure that the delivery of the work on the foreshore was achieved before our most important, largest public event in Crabfest, and asked a substantial amount of questions of officers through both the Audit and Risk Committee and Council to say, now, are you sure we're going to meet that target of that being ready for Crabfest? Because wouldn't that be a little bit awkward if it wasn't ready? So I have to give credit to the staff. They gave us an explicit timeline of when that was going to be achieved by, and they should be congratulated through the contract management process of that project being delivered and ready for Crabfest. So I think that's really important. One of the most recent additions coming on board being the playground, which, I mean, the whole foreshore looks fantastic, but that particular area is a real draw card in there for some of our more younger members of the community. So fantastic job. I think it's important that whilst we sit here and ask questions of staff and scrutinise staff, it's also important to recognise where they deliver on what has been on the timeframe that's been set out. So I do really appreciate that from staff. The final one is just in relation to the Dawesville Community Centre, because that's coming into operation in the middle of 2025. We have an obligation to set our fees and charges in relation to that, and that is included in the report, and I've got no problem with that. So happy to support and endorse the resolution as contained in the papers. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Councillor Wilkins.
It's always difficult to speak after Councillor Rogers in regards to financial reports, but I'm glad he emphasised the works going on in the beautiful East Ward. Great to see work being done at Norwich Reserve and Roy Tuckey Reserve. Happy to see that, and also great to see the work's being done, the much-needed work's being done at the MPAC as well. So, yeah, happy to support. I do have a question, though, if that's...
Thank you, Councillor Wilkins. Do you wish to raise your question?
Just in regards, and sorry, Mayor, for mentioning it, the Bortolo Fire Track water infrastructure is now completed. Can I just find out if that's open for parking when there's sporting events on at Bortolo?
Thank you. Through to the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, I believe that's on a special arrangement, so it's opened when it's required to be used for an event. So, but I will definitely check and make sure that is the case. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone have any questions in relation to this item? Anyone wishing to speak against the item? If not, I'll put the item to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item is motions of which notice has been given, and we have none. A notice of motions for consideration at the following meeting, and do we have any notice of motions? I don't believe so. Late and urgent business items, we have none. There are no confidential items. I'd just like to close the meeting and thank you. This now concludes the meeting. Thank you for your participation and support in assisting the meeting to run so smoothly. I declare all business concluded and close the meeting at 7:03 and request that the live streaming be terminated.